Good morning. Today we are going to do the second part of our animal acrylic. So let's get started. This is the background that I did earlier, and I'm going to play off of the colors, but I'm going to make this monkey. It's going to be amazing. So open your sketchbook, put your background onto your sketchbook, then if any acrylic paint gets off of your project, then it won't get on the table. And now this is a really cool way of transferring images from a photocopy onto your artwork. We are going to use a plastic bag, and we're just going to start by cutting it. We're cutting off the top part, we don't need that. And then we're just going to split it into two pieces of plastic so we could actually do two paintings and two transfers. Since the plastic is non-porous, then it means whatever we put on top of it is going to take a little time to dry. And we're going to use a permanent marker, but the thing that's important is that it is oil-based. If it's oil-based, then the oil is going to take longer to dry, and that's going to give us enough time to use it as a transferring, I guess. Okay, so I'm just putting aside one piece of plastic.
Ooch, scooch.
And then I'm going to take my clear plastic, I'm going to put it on top of my monkey. Take my oil-based marker, shake it up. I'm going to make sure that it's primed. So I'm just going to push down and make sure that it has marker ink coming out. And then I'm just going to hold. In fact, if you want to, you could tape it down. Just make sure that it has plenty of liquid coming out. In fact, you can kind of push down and just make sure that it has quite a bit coming out. And then we're just going to trace the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the overall big shapes. Don't have it. And then we're going to take this, move our monkey out of the way, put our painting down, and then flip it over, and you want to try to just put it straight down. And then you're just going to rub. And if we have enough of the oil-based pen, then it should transfer over. Now, it might not be perfect, and that's okay, because it's just giving us a guideline. So it doesn't seem like it's transferring perfectly, so what I'm going to do is put this piece of tape down so that my background and my monkey are still attached to each other. And then I'm going to go over. It's just that it started to dry. I didn't have quite enough ink on it, so press it down so that it has lots of flow to it. Once you feel pretty confident, then you can remove your piece of paper. We don't need that anymore, but this definitely gives us a starting place with our monkey. Now I'm going to come in with my Sharpie, and I'm going to go over the lines that I initially drew with and for the transfer. So you can go on the outside or on the inside of the lines, and I might kind of, like if this is furry up here, I'm gonna kind of do an irregular line just to kind of help me remember that it's furry. I see his ear over here, and it's furry, and his eyes. And I might even like use my Sharpie to color in a part of the eye. So this is our paint palette. It's always nice to use similar colors that you used in the background. That kind of ties the whole thing together. And I'm going to start with my yellow, red, and blue. I'm going to give myself some white. And some black. I think I'll probably put this black in one of my smaller wells because it's so strong. You have 3 brushes, and the basic rule of thumb is to use big brushes for big shapes, middle-sized brushes for middle shapes, and small brushes for small shapes. You'll notice that they're all flat, and you can use them in 2 ways. For instance, you can, even with this big brush, if you load the big brush with paint, then you can make big, wide, flat areas, or you can turn it and make narrow areas. So especially when you're doing something like fur, then using it the long way actually looks really great. So take a minute, stop the video. In your sketchbook, go ahead and make some thin, long strokes or some fat strokes with your big brush. And you can do the same thing with your middle and smaller sized brushes. It just takes a little bit of practice. So now that I have this worked out, then I can mix my colors. There's just one rule, and that is you're going to look at your reference image a lot. Like I look at my reference image about once every 2 seconds. And I'm just comparing what my reference image is to what my image is over here, and I constantly go back and forth. Then you just put light colors where there's light areas, and where there's dark areas, you put dark colors. Remember that you can tint and you can shade as you go. So I'm going to paint this, but I'm also going to speed up the video so you kind of see the approach, and pay attention to using light colors where the light areas are and dark where the dark areas are. Looking for the light areas first, and then just whatever colors I feel like using, I can use in those areas.